In this video, I'll show you the system I use in Google Sheet to keep track of my habits for this year. My name is Felix and I run a consultant and educational company with over 7 employees now, and we help entrepreneurs start and scale their businesses through 0% interest funding. And with that being said, let's get right into it. So we all have 24 hours in a day. And one thing that really fascinated me is that even though we have the same exact amount of time per day compared to everybody else, why are some people able to achieve a lot more than others? And that is a question that I've been asking myself for the past couple years until today, until I started reading this book called Atomic Habits. And the biggest takeaway from this book is that in order for you to really grow as a human being, in order for you to be an elite performer, you need to understand how to measure, how to quantify and track your progress as well as your habits. And those are usually key performance indicators that provides feedback and data for you so you know what to improve on over time, right? And this also comes back to the quote, if you are not growing, you are dying. So one way to know whether you're growing or you're just being stagnant is by keeping track of your daily progress and your daily habits of what you do. So with that being said, let's go right into my screen and I'll show you the tool. So before even diving into the actual daily habit tracking sheet that I'm about to share with you, I think it is very imperative for us to understand kind of like the methodology and also principles behind why tracking is so important. And again, a lot of the principles and lessons are coming from this book, The Atomic Habits. So if you guys haven't read or listen to this book, I highly recommend it. Make sure to download it on Audible if you don't like reading, and also buy the book through Amazon. It doesn't cost too much, and a $13 investment at the end of the day is going to yield a great return if you follow exactly what this book says. So in summary, the book in 3 sentences is that a habit is a regular practice or routine that is not only small and easy to do, but is also a source of incredible power, the component of the system of compound growth, right? So just like in the financial markets and investing, where your investments compounds over time, this also applies to your habits. And this is why it's so important to look at the bigger timeline and the bigger picture frame of small incremental habits adding over a period of time is really going to yield the impact or result that you're kind of like constantly looking for, right? So for example, going to the gym 30 minutes a day, you might not see your progress, or you might not see that 6-pack within the first couple weeks that you do it, but consistently over time, repeatedly, in 6 months, you're probably going to see some sort of change. And honestly, that is where a lot of people give up, is since we live in such a instant gratification type of lifestyle, where we get stuff super quickly. Amazon 24-hour Prime nowadays, right? Watching Netflix, binge watching show, you can access that through other networks, etc. Like, we receive information so quick, therefore that also applies to a lot of the thinking that we have, right? And it really put us as a disadvantage. So instead, I want you to look at the bigger picture when it comes to tracking your habits and doing your habits repeatedly over and over. Number 2, bad habits repeat themselves again and again, not because you don't want to. Change is because you have the wrong system for it. And I totally agree with this. And the biggest analogy that I like to use, or a big example that I like to use, is if you're someone that's trying to lose weight, and you have a ton of junk food laying around your house, how do you expect yourself to, work on that temptation and not go for the junk food when you're hungry, right? As compared to someone that have a proper health system in place, where they replace the junk food with fruits and vegetables instead, and that's the only access that he has when he's hungry. Who do you think will win at being the fittest of all, right? Obviously the person that have a well well-rounded system set up for themselves as compared to someone that is already at a disadvantage and they have to put in the extra mental energy, their willpower in order to resist that type of temptation, right? So hope that makes sense. And then number three, change that seems small and important at first will compound into remarkable results if you're willing to stick to them for over a few years, right? And this is going back to the example that I gave in number one. You won't see the change instantly, but over time, if you work on it every single day repeatedly and it becomes a habit, you're not even aware of it, you just do it, then that's when results are going to start pouring in. Okay, with that being said, I do want to give you guys a little bit more sneak peek of the other tracking methods or tracking tools that I like to use. So aside from just my habit tracking, I think it is very important for you to also keep track of your of your business and every little details about it, specifically sales and cash flow, because at the end of the day, if you don't have cash flow, or you don't know where the money is coming in or how much of the money is leaving from your business, how do you expect yourself to scale? How do you expect you to pay for payroll, to invest back into R&D, marketing, advertising, etc. Those are all important metrics in order to understand where your business is actually going. And I see that happen for a lot of small business owners that don't keep track of their business, and therefore they stay pretty stagnant because they don't know what improvements that they have to make, because they don't have any feedback or results that they consciously are aware of, right? So I focus a lot in inbound and outbound. That includes our ads, and then also organic outbounding, do our appointment setters and BDRs, paid traffic reporting. I also have one for personal net worth and expenses with my personal lifestyle, as well as the investments that I made and how they're doing over time as well. Whether I have to change up my investment strategy or de-risk a little bit based on market condition, macroeconomics, etc. Right? And then last but not least, we are going to head into our daily habit tracker, and I'll go into kind of my methodology behind this, and also my thought process behind this at the end of the day. But just like everything else, in order for me to really be encouraged to track this in the first place, I need to somewhat be incentivized, right? And the way that I feel like I'm incentivized, and just like for a lot of people too, is if there is something called a hit ratio and a percentage based on your completion within whatever that you do, right? So if you can honestly see your progress, and if you're not hitting the goal that you're supposed to hit, it just kind of bothers you in the back of the head. So therefore it kind of incentivizes you to really take action on the missed opportunities or on the things that you haven't done for that day, in order to stay on track and also again grow based on the feedback that you're getting from, right? So with that being said, what I did is there is a how-to section, right? When you guys download this sheet, actually make a copy of it. Don't use mine because this one is for personal use. There is a sample habit tracker on this end, as well as my own one that you guys can kind of use if you guys need to. But again, everybody's goals and objectives for this year is totally different. So what I like to do is mix it between a personal and a business goals of mine, right? So as you can see, number one, and this is also kind of in order, I would say, in terms of timeline. The first thing that I wake up, what is something that I focus on, right? So I put them based on, do you call it chronological order? Yeah, I think that's what you call it. Based on order of execution. What tasks or daily habits is going to be executed first, all the way to what is going to be executed last throughout the day, and the last habit of the day, right? So for me personally, you can see the description of this is what is my top 3 priorities that's going to help me move the needle of the business, right? I don't even care about what's my top 3
priorities personally, because right now a lot of my focus is in the business, so everything revolves back into growing and scaling my business. And a good reminder that I always like to kind of like remind myself of if is I have to spend more time building than managing, right? So what does that mean? It means like as a co-founder, as a leader in my business, I have to constantly build and improve our systems and processes and look for inefficiencies and kind of like work on that over time, right? Instead of spending a majority of my time managing customer support, accountability with our clients, once in a while training employees, really low level energy, not low level, like low value tasks in a sort, or something that can be delegated for a cheaper cost, right? And that you understand what your time is worth and that it's better worth, especially as your role of a co-founder and the CEO of the company. It's best if you are doing things that's going to help move the needles of the business, right? So for me, I have to understand that every other day or the day before tomorrow at night, I usually plan out what is the top 3 priorities based on all the data that I gathered from last week, right? Are we hitting X amount of sales call? Are we hitting X amount of revenue? Are we hitting X amount of like percentage close? If we're not hitting those, what's the reason why, and how can we improve beyond that in order to help scale the company or move the needle of the company, right? So this is where I will list the things that I need to do in the morning. So I focus all my energy, because the first thing that you wake up, or when the first few hours of your morning is usually where your mind is the most optimized and in the best shape, I would say. And throughout the day, honestly, you get tired, and if you're drinking caffeine, it dies down, and then you're less motivated or incentivized to work on things. And at the end of the day too, if these are high energy, high, if it's draining a lot of mental energy, you always want to prioritize those first, right? So in this case, it takes a lot of critical thinking. It takes a lot of willpower, I would say. It is definitely a hard and difficult task for me to do in the morning. That's why I want to do it in the morning to get it done. So just based off that, you can see my hit ratio, right? Hit ratio is 0 stands for did I hit my top 3 priorities? If no, then it's 0. If I did, then I'll put yes, right? Cool. So you can see on average so far in the past, I would say 3 weeks of tracking, I only hit my top 3 priorities 50% of the time. It means 50% of the other time, I either only achieve 1 or 2 of my priorities, but I haven't achieved all 3 of them. And that is very frustrating for me to look back at. And this is where the feedback loop kinds of come in, where, okay, what is the reason why I'm not hitting? Or you ask yourself, why am I only hitting 50% of my priorities, or my habit that needs to be done in order to move the business, when in fact I know that I have to hit all 3 of them in order to scale and see some sort of performance increase or growth within what I do, right? So I ask myself that, is it maybe because of the time? Is it maybe the day of I'm not getting enough sleep? Is it maybe in the morning I'm getting a lot distracted? Is it because I'm responding to emails and being reactive instead of being proactive? So you start asking all these questions on why you're not achieving this at 100%. And then from there, you kind of work upon that. Is okay, if I feel like I'm being reactive instead of proactive, maybe I turn off my Slack, right? I just turn it off. I don't get any notification. I turn off my phone, or I put it into do not disturb. I don't even look at my email first thing in the morning, and the only focus that I have is on my computer working on the top 3 priorities, right? Maybe it's the amount of tabs that I have open. You can see I have 4 different tabs open in my other browsers. Maybe I have to switch computers sometimes, right? I have additional computer. Maybe I can leave all my important tabs here. I switch to a new computer and only open on that one tab, focusing on my top 3 priorities of the day, right? So these little nuances of feedback will come back to how you can fix that percentage from hitting only 50% to now hitting an increase of maybe 10 to 20%, and then hopefully I can hit 100% of the time, right? And likewise with all the different habits, you slowly understand as time goes by how how much in percentage in terms of like hit ratio are you actually hitting your target in a sense, right? Hit ratio is hitting your target. 47% of the time I'm hitting it, 71% of the time I'm hitting it. What is happening throughout that other 29% of the time, right? Is there a specific day that I'm not hitting those targets, and why on those specific days am I not hitting those targets, right? So you start asking yourself a lot more questions. You start to understand kind of like your processes a lot better. What you do, it becomes you become a lot more aware of everything that you do from this point on. And that is what a lot of people tend to forget, is that awareness is kind of like the number one key for you to see any sort of change, to make any sort of change. And in order for you to really grow as a person, is to be aware of the bad habits that you have, and then change that bad habit into a good habit by implementing some sort of system in place, right? So you can see the only thing that I'm doing good at that has over like a 70% hit ratio was learning something new. I love learning, whether it's driving to WeWork and putting on an audiobook, or watching a brand new YouTube video regarding how I can scale my business. I always love learning. So that is why so another point I want to address, you have to enjoy the task that you're doing, right? And in order to make yourself enjoy everything that you're doing, you have to rewire your mind, or you have to rewire the systems that involves the task that you listed for yourself, right? So keep in mind of that. So that's pretty much it, right? So again, 0 means you didn't do it, you didn't hit that target for the day, and then 1 means you actually did. And that's why I also color code it, is because the more green that you see, the more happy that you become, and the more motivated and incentivized you are to hit more of your habits down the line. But I want to say this, I am not perfect. There are days where I miss like 4 days in a row of tracking, and looking back at it again, this is why, again, I'm not perfect and I need to track. And for the days that I didn't track, I also asked myself, why didn't I track for that day? Is it because I got lazy? Is it because my computer is not open up with this tab, therefore I tend to forget about it? And it's funny too, because I have a habit over here where to remind myself to keep track of all my metrics for the day. Right. So what you guys can do is make a copy and then delete all of this. Make sure it's in chronological order. If you want to, if not, that's okay. But I would recommend like at least your top 3 priorities should always be the first thing that you tackle on every single day, first thing in the morning. And then along with your health and fitness goals as well, right? Hitting the gym 1 hour a day minimum. There are days, as you can see, where I'm pretty not consistent. 64% of the time I've been hitting the gym for 1 hour a day, right? Eating healthy and clean, I'm doing a little bit better than that. I ask myself why. Maybe on these days, those are the days that my friends invite me to go out to eat. And then I try to understand, why did we eat something unhealthy that time? Or is it because they recommended? And maybe next time when we do go out, I will recommend them a healthier type of options of dining, right, etc. And then for me personally, I like to leave the day with kind of like my top 3 wins that happen, right? So even if it's small little wins, it just really just light up your mood of the night. Therefore, that kind of like affect the way that you sleep as well, and then how you wake up in the morning as well, right? Because if you go to bed feeling all stressed, sad, you're probably gonna wake up in the morning feeling all stressed and sad, and that's gonna affect your performance within this. And this is probably why I'm not hitting my goals, right? So I'm trying to look at it, is there any correlation with the different things that I'm missing on, and how is that affecting my other habits as well, right? So moving beyond that, you can also check your weekly goals that you have. For me, every single week I like to either spend a day of the week, clean my house, talk to an old friend, do some sort of outdoor activities, get that vitamin D in, make one new friend, talk to someone and just network with them, because you never know, like the next guy that you talk to might be your best friend, or it might be someone that you partner out with for a business or refer your business, etc. Right? No drinking, as you can see, I'm not even 33%. I'm still drinking a little bit. I'm trying to cut down on it, and I can see how it mentally affects you, not mentally and physically affects you. So I'm trying to cut down on that. Just being socially aware again is what matters, right? Mindset coaching, I hired a performance coach and I pay a lot of money for that. So reviewing his videos and training once in a while throughout the week, just so I have a fresh mentality and kind of like perspective going into the next week is very important for me. And then last but not least, you know, I'm a financial dude. I like to review all my financial statements, right? So yeah, this is pretty much it. I hope you guys got some clarity in terms of like why I'm doing what I'm doing and why you should also start keeping track of habits, because at the end of the day, these data and these feedback is pretty much the power, what's it called? It's pretty much, let's see, they're pretty much the source of incredible power to a amazing life, right? So that's the way that you should look at it. You're every single day that you're working on your good habits, you're feeding small power into your system, therefore that would turn out to a better life. I don't know how to say that or how to put that in words, but you guys understand it, right? It's like these magical little lights or these good habits that you're doing, and they're just going into you, and then you become a better person over time. You become smarter, you become wiser, you have more money, more people are attractive to you, and you just become a greater human being at the end of the day. And this is all because of tracking, right? So again, this strategy, this tracking sheet is for you guys. All you guys have to do is, all I ask you guys to do is just take action on this. Click on the Excel link, click on file, click download, make it a book tab under your, you know, your browser, and every single day just keep track of those habits. All right, with that being said, I'll see you guys in the next video, and make sure to drop a like and also a comment in this video as well. See you guys next time.